Hi, it's Jane. I'm here with just a small sewing tip, and that being a good idea before you start cutting your fabric is to actually iron it. Just keep in mind, I'm not an expert seamstress. I just play one on YouTube. But one of the things that I learned from Amish and Mennonite, as well as Leah Day here on YouTube, was that ironing your fabric will help you get a much nicer, cleaner cut when you're cutting fabric. I am cutting fabric today for some bags that I'm going to be doing, and so yeah, that is one thing that I will do. You notice I sit when I cut. I do also cut standing, but because of back issues, many times I will sit while I'm cutting. It is possible to get an accurate cut when you are sitting. It just takes a little bit of practice. It does tend to work a little bit better if you are standing, but, you know, I'm fine with sitting. I have in the past pulled fabric up to my next line for when I am ready to cut, lined it up with a mark on my cutting board, cutting mat, and then proceeded to cut. And I always look 2 to 3 times before I cut, because no one likes to have a problem in their cutting. No one likes to have those little jaggedy edges. But the biggest tip that I can pass on is I know a lot of the Amish Mennonite women, when I have been in quilting classes with them at my local sewing store, they have always made a point of making sure, now I'm going to stand for this cut because it's towards the end of the table and I don't want to have to scoot my chair over. They have always impressed upon me that it is important to not only measure twice, but to iron that fabric so you get a nice, crisper, even cut on that. Now, I've cut quite a few bags in the past that have had crazy jagged edges, and yeah, I've been able to work those into a project and had no issues. A lot of that is just comes with time. When you're sewing, you learn to do those kind of things. And yeah, so I am cutting not only crossbody bags today, but a tote bag. So the tote bag will go up later. And then all of my scraps, I save those. You could make it a straight cut on the other side, as you can see a little bit of left over here. And I think I will straighten it up. And those make great strips to do strip quilts or anything else you have on your little mind to do. So I am going to straighten this up just because. And the thing is, generally after 3 or 4 cuts, you'll see that you have an issue. You may get some wonky edges. So it's always a good idea to kind of give it a little bit of a straighten. And yeah, so that is ready for the scrap pile to be used for other items. But yeah, like I said, the whole idea with making sure that you have straight edges when you're cutting can sometimes be difficult for the beginner. Sometimes it's even difficult for us old-timers. But I found always by ironing, it creates a much stronger piece of fabric. It lays completely flat, makes it easier when you are cutting so that you do get an accurate cut. And like I said, sometimes you can fudge things when you're sewing, sometimes you can't. With bags, generally I can make that work if I get a jagged edge, but I choose not to have jagged edges because it's not very pleasing. So yeah, use that tip, and as always, remember to measure twice. Use the lines on your rulers and your mats to get some accurate cuts. Don't be afraid to try 1 or 2 times to see what you get. You can always use those for scrap projects. Some of my cutting boo-boos I have actually used in Operation Christmas Child projects, like to make drawstring bags for the marbles, or just a drawstring bag for a child to have to carry around their items or books, whatever it is that they need to carry. So yeah, those are a couple of tips that I think are important when we are sewing. And like I said, I am not a professional. I just play one on YouTube. And those are a couple of tips that I have. Like I said, the biggest one with the ironing is it has always worked. I've never had issues when I'm cutting if I've ironed my fabric. So that may be something that you want to consider doing. There are a lot of people that don't iron their fabrics like I do. I use spray starch. I think that's important for helping to get straight edges. So that's what I do. I use spray starch. And it just helps with a lot of the things that you're doing, and as well as even when I'm bag making, a lot of times you'll see some of these reels on Instagram or even YouTube or TikTok that people don't seem to be ironing any at all. They don't iron open seams. They don't iron up open, a lot of things. They don't iron it. They just kind of finger press it and go. That also comes with time. You learn to deal with those kind of things and what works, what doesn't work with whatever fabric that you're using. But I always spray starch when I'm using cottons. I do sometimes do that also with knits. Knits are kind of slippery. Sometimes they're difficult to cut. So I do that. I also pin with knits. Just because of the way that the nature of a knit and the way that it will slide somewhat. So those are some things to think about when you are cutting your fabrics. I'm not going to show you or teach you how to cut straight line on your fabrics. There are a lot of tutorials out there, but I just thought I would share a couple of tips that I follow that work for me. So yeah. All right, that's it, guys. See you soon. Everybody have a great week. Bye.